Hello. You know, pretty high in my wish list located French company Devialet. I hope they pronounce this way because the only thing that is worse that my English pronunciation is my French pronunciation. So high in my wish list located that company with their famous series of Bluetooth speakers. I like that Phantom Opera, Mini and all that other speakers. I heard them only briefly, but I was impressed with sound, but more I was impressed with design. Unfortunately, for now I can't get one for myself, maybe later in some future. But I decided to get a tiny bit of Devialet sound, and I've got their true wireless in-ear monitors that they announced last year, and that's Devialet Gemini. And it's pretty interesting true wireless earphones with aptX support, with active noise cancelling, transparency mode, and all that other stuff that is typical for modern nowadays TWS. And of course they are on the pricey side. They cost $300 or 300 euros for those who are getting salaries and paying in euros, and I think it's a bit not fair when you have to pay higher. But anyway, let's go back to the review, and today we will talk about this true wireless model, and spoiler, it's quite good. So, package is pretty simple, but it's not as minimalistic as let's say Sennheiser or Sony or Apple. They created nice stylish box with really pleasant soft touch feel with good polygraphy, so you understand that company is serious about the design. On the back side basic features are listed, so IPX4 rated, so that means basically sweat proof, up to 24 hours of battery life, and up to 6 hours on listening on one charge, and 6 hours is with active noise cancelling on. And it's close to true. I am getting about 5.5 hours, and turning active noise cancelling off give you additional hour and a half or even a bit more. And case also has 3 additional charges inside. And they feature a few interesting technologies, so active noise cancellation and transparency mode, their own in-house developed. Ear active matching, so you can put them in ears and application will analyze the fit and suggest you to change the tips if it's required. Pressure balance architecture and internal delay compensation, so they are measuring the sound and adjust the sound appropriately. And inside of the box, manual with basic information, additional manual with more information, warranty card, so papers are boring. Also earphones, I already opened them, of course they were wrapped in film in a more accurate way before I did it. Also regular USB Type-C charging cable, absolutely regular, they support wireless charging by the way. And a bit unusual, but they put these tips in some kind of blister, because you need to unglue this part and there are different additional set of tips. So accessory set is basic, but presentation of course is really premium. In terms of design, you can see that it's definitely unusual thing. Case is pretty big. For me it's not an issue because I carry true wireless cases inside of my backpack, and it will fit good into the vest pocket, but in jeans pocket it could be a bit too big. From another hand, actually it's not bigger than Sony's case, and actually even a bit smaller. In terms of feel, in terms of design, it's start to positively amaze even with the case. So it opens with a slide, and it has a nice spring that you just slightly push it and it finish movement itself. A bit reminds that old Nokia's design and behavior. On the back side additional information printed, but not that interesting. And if you pull them out, they will boot up and will try to connect to the source. And keep in mind that they are designed to be paired in box. So you put them in box, you press the button, and this LED starts slowly blinking, and that means the pairing mode. And currently it indicates the internal battery status. Design-wise, they are good. They are fitting smoothly into ears. They're using really good and pleasant plastic. You can see that spout has unusual oval shape with also unusual design of the grill, but it's not that important, I think. Main thing is that wearing comfort is good. They have that sensor of insertion, so they can put music on pause when you pull them out and resume when you put them in. Of course, they have a companion app that can be used for tweaks and adjustment and so on. Microphone quality test I will add later, and the active noise cancellation is pretty good. It works nicely. Actually, it's a bit worse than Sony in reducing constant monotone hum, like I don't know, some engine working or plane, but they are better in reducing some random loud noises, especially in the high frequency domain. Also, it's pretty important, of course, to find the proper tips, but speaking about the quality of active noise cancellation, the main thing is to decide what type of noise cancellation you need. So for the plane, for example, probably Sony will be a bit better, but for the regular street usage, Devialet does a bit better job, at least in my subjective tests, because you know it's hard to do some kind of objective testing here. Anyway, of course they almost don't have background noise, delay is pretty low, just with special test video it can be spotted. So in terms of connectivity they are also good as regular true wireless model can be. Of course, when there are a lot of interference, when there are a lot of Wi-Fi networks outside you, they can have some interruptions, but in regular conditions up to 5-8 meters they hold the signal very well. They reconnect pretty good and so on. They connect to the device simultaneously, both earpieces, so left and right, but connect to work in stereo mode you need to connect to the Gemini L device, then they will be working. Anyway, in terms of design, package, representation, definitely a really good and worthy model. Here is the part about the companion app. Sorry, but I'll have to use my iPad to show it to you, because I can't use any player, because this companion app requires access to the location services, and it crashes on the FIO M11, for example. Anyway, iPad is working pretty good, just bigger screen, and here is the application. On the main screen you can select the noise cancellation profile, you can select cancellation, you can select natural settings, you can select transparency. For the transparency you can select high and low, and for the cancellation you can select between the three levels, low, high and on the plane. Here is brief information about earpieces. In settings you can change products, account, try to update them, but mine are already running the latest firmware. And here in the settings you can rename them, you can select touch control, double press, you can use it push to talk, or you can use it to skip the next previous tracks. Smart pause, when you pull them out they are paused. Audio preferences, equalizer and balance. So basically pretty obvious working features, and there are few additional presets if you need. And fit test. This application will guide you through this test when you run it first time, but then you can retest your fit. So you just put them in ear, select proper tips, then earphones play short tune and measure the response, and then saying are they fitting well or not, and basic information about the firmware version and so on. So basically you can see that application is simple, but it's working fairly well. And here is a traditional microphone test. I am recording this part of the video putting Devialet Gemini in my ears. I won't apply any gain correction or compensation, so it will give you an idea of how microphones here work during the call. And of course, about the sound, kind of short spoiler, they fulfilled my expectations, offering unusual tuning for the true wireless model. And that's what I wanted from them, because usually in the true wireless segment you can get something colored, some V-shaped, by bass-heavy signature or something like that. In more pricey segments you can usually get more natural sound, models like Mi 07 for example, or Noble Audio Falcon deliver resolving and uncolored sound signature. Models like Sony or Sennheiser delivers signature that is tailored to be fun, engaging, with additional coloration, and Devialet created sounds that probably match their profile, match their passion to the classical music. It's a model with really refined sound, with natural timbres, and actually that's the model that is boosting that sense of naturalness and that sense of exquisite, rich, lush, refined tuning. So let's have some player on the table. I will use M15 to show examples because my smartphone is busy filming these videos now, and M15 is good as a transport. You can see that aptX is supported. Actually, that's a nice strong magnet here. And I must admit that it's not the model for those who like colored signature, it's not a bass head model, and also it's not a model for those who want really loud true wireless in-ear monitors. They have limited loudness. For me it's more than enough, but if you use two really loud models, probably you need to consider something else, because that's the model for those who care about the ears. And for the noisy environment they have active noise cancelling that works pretty okay. So bass is not accented in terms of quantity, but it's a bit boosted. It's highlighting a bit small nuances of real acoustic instruments, so they are a bit like embossed. You will get a bit more saturated overtones with that will give you richer tones, that will give you more lush and probably mellow sound. At the same time, depth is pretty good. Of course, it's limited by the aptX codec, so it's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And the bass is controlled well, it has a nice impact, so it will be enough, at least at my scale, even for electronic music, but it's not a bass head level of representation. And of course, most of all, it shines with some acoustic instruments, with brass, with wood, with, I don't know, leather on the drums and all that other materials. So of course I selected Musica Nuda as an example, practical arrangement, and this model shines with such tracks. Of course, wired models in the $300 segment will be better, but for the true wireless models, it's probably the best fit for this track, and double bass and vocal sounding nice and engaging and rich and saturated. You know, I'm using a lot of words because this model is definitely unusual and delivering interesting sound. Mids are well balanced. Of course, aptX codec is reducing a bit resolution, but still you will get a proper amount of small nuances. you will get good balance between micro contrast and macro dynamics. It's not the model that delivers smallest nuances, it's just because of the wireless nature here. And it's not the model with some highlighted sound, it's just a bit highlighting emotions to be more forward and engaging, but that's it. And besides that, they are really balanced. Imaginary stage is slightly above average both in width and in depth, and maybe here used even some digital signal processing, because in building this stage they are really good. Or maybe it's a matter of just well-balanced timbres, I don't know, because stage is subjective, not here, it's subjective in general. And as an example for the mid, I couldn't just keep this track, it's Alan Parsons project and it's Gemini. Nice, clean, high-pitched vocal and sounding really well with this model, as well as all that small nuances that hold this track. So really nice, also in terms of stage. And treble, also limited. I really want to see true wireless models with more advanced codecs, because the potential of this model is limited by the aptX. It's still sounding great, but definitely it could sound even better without aptX. I really want Devialet to release some wired model. Maybe in the similar case, just add wires here and that's it, and probably it will be a really good offer, I'm pretty sure. But of course Devialet are well known, first of all famous as a creator of Bluetooth products, and this mod, it was pretty obvious that they will create the Bluetooth headphones. So treble is also good in terms of resolution. It's a dynamic driver treble with a bit slower attacks and decays, but at the same time with good resolution, with nice weight, and they even try to show the basic layering. That is also pretty surprising for the true wireless models, because I never heard that in TWS segment. It's the first time when I hear that. It's really basic, but it's still the best result ever. So they give a pretty good overtone saturation, and they accurately highlight treble too to sound nice and refined, and delivers a good amount of it. And as an example, Sting, Russians, live. It's complicated track even in studio version because of orchestral part, but in live versions it became even more complex, because earphones need to represent all that stuff in a proper way. So I'm touching them, making their sensor work, so they pause and unpause constantly because I'm closing this sensor. So it's a track that requires nice treble performance to shine and to show all nuances of that audience, to show all nuances of orchestra, percussion and all that other stuff. And Devialet does that in a really good manner, unfortunately limited by aptX, but still pretty nice. So to summarize everything, really lush and engaging tuning, especially suiting classical music, acoustic instruments, vocal and similar genres. It's not the model, to deliver super heavy bass or super forward representation. No, it's for natural tones and uncolored sound. Actually, a bit colored, but colored to sound more natural. Speaking about the conversions, basically two models that I own. It's Sony WX1000, or what is their index, but this one is more natural, more refined and better suiting complex music. Sony is more forward, more aggressive, but they are more limited in treble, but they offer a bit longer battery lifetime. Also Sennheiser Momentum, you know, they are more forward, they are a bit more aggressive, they have more punchy bass, so they sounding more engaging, but that engageness is a bit artificial. Not in terms of that artificial sound, but not probably the best word, not suiting the classical music and all that other genres and styles. So Devialet definitely knew their job, and they created the model fitting the music that they are promoting, and in this aspect it's a pretty unique true wireless model. So I definitely recommend you to listen to them if you're interested in such music and you want to listen it in the true wireless mode. Of course it's anti-audiophilic, because even better, true wireless model is still not audiophilic enough. But during the daily commute, or especially if you don't use some noisy subway, for example, or when you're working, I don't know, in the garden or sitting on the balcony, it's a really good source of pleasure, and Devialet managed to deliver the good value. Thank you for listening, thank you for your attention, and of course have a nice day.